Ever feel like, I don't know, like we're kind of on the razor's edge between order and like utter chaos?
Yeah, like society's this teetering Jenga tower, one bad move from.
Exactly. And it's funny, or maybe not so funny, that back in 1651, this guy Thomas Hobbes, he was feeling the exact same vibes.
Oh, yeah, Hobbes wrote the book on it, literally Leviathan. We're diving into that today.
We are. And just to be clear, this isn't some dry history lesson, all right? This book, it still matters because what Hobbes is really getting at is like the core of human nature.
The operating system, right. What makes us tick, why societies do what they do. And let me tell you, this guy Hobbes, he did not have a rosy view.
Not even a little bit. See, Hobbes, he lived through the English Civil War, so he'd seen firsthand how fragile this whole civilized society thing really is.
Exactly. And that's what makes Leviathan so powerful, so unsettling. It's like looking at our own reflection in a cracked mirror.
Okay, so let's jump into it. The first part, I got to warn you, it's a little out there. Hobbes, he lays out this idea of humans as machines.
And I don't mean that figuratively, like, oh, we're all creatures of habit. He means literal machines, like gears and levers.
Seriously. He's talking hearts are springs, nerves are strings, the whole shebang. It's wild.
It was radical for his time, absolutely. He even uses this metaphor of the state, like a whole society being this artificial man, this Leviathan.
Whoa, okay, hold up. Artificial man, Leviathan. Break that down for me.
So Hobbes, he's saying we humans were driven by these primal urges, right? Fear, desire, the whole 9 yards, and left unchecked. It's a free-for-all.
Chaos. Everyone for themselves.
Exactly. So to escape this, what do? We create the Leviathan, this powerful sovereign, this entity that we give absolute authority to keep us all in line.
So like creating some freedom for security.
That's the social contract in a nutshell. But here's the kicker. For Hobbes, there's no room for compromise. Sovereignty. He meant absolute power, judge, jury, the whole shebang.
Wow. So I got to ask, does that make you feel safer? Or like a little nervous?
And it's not just about, like someone with a crown and a scepter, right? Hobbes goes deeper into like the core of what makes us human.
Yeah, he's big on this idea of like knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Nocite ipsum, that'll thing.
Exactly. But here's the thing. He doesn't stop there. He takes it further, saying if you really, truly know yourself, you know everyone.
Wait, what? He's not saying we're all like clones, right?
Not exactly. See, he calls it the similitude of passions. Basically, we all experience the same core drives: desire, fear, hope.
Okay, so like my fear of spiders and your fear of public speaking?
Exactly. Different triggers, same underlying emotion. And for Hobbes, these passions, they're powerful. Left unchecked, they'd tear society apart.
Hence the Leviathan to keep things in line.
Precisely. He even has this famous line, life without a strong sovereign, it's solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Catchy, right?
Not exactly a ringing endorsement for anarchy, no. But I got to say, even today, you see glimpses of this state of nature thing he's talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Disasters, social breakdowns, even just like a really intense Twitter fight.
Right. Suddenly those rules, that social contract, it starts to feel super fragile.
It makes you think. And this is where, for some people, Hobbes starts to get a little uncomfortable.
Because if we're all just these bundles of passion driven by fear, how do we even create rules in the first place?
Well, for Hobbes, it all boils down to reason. But his definition of reason, it's pretty, well, cold.
Like a robot calculating its next move.
Exactly. He says reason is just like adding and subtracting, analyzing consequences. Ultimately, choosing what's best for your own self-preservation.
Even if that means, like, giving up some freedoms to this big, powerful Leviathan.
That's the trade-off, according to Hobbes. He actually writes, signs of prudence are all uncertain. Gut feelings, experience. Not enough. You need a system.
It's wild to me that he connects like everything back to that desire for self-preservation, that need for the Leviathan.
It's true, though, if you really follow his logic. Like, even when he talks about knowledge, right? It's all about how it ultimately reinforces the sovereign's power.
Okay, how so? Give me an example.
So he has this whole system, this like taxonomy of knowledge, where he divides everything into these different categories. And for example, he puts poetry, rhetoric, even logic, all under the umbrella of consequences from speech.
Consequences from speech. What does that even mean?
Basically, that language communication, it all comes back to the social contract. Because without that agreement, without the Leviathan to enforce it, our words would just be,
Empty. meaningless.
Right, and it's not just these big abstract concepts either.
Hmm.
Hobbes even links things like social status, titles of nobility, all that stuff back to the sovereign's power.
So he's saying even our desire for, like, recognition for a certain place in the hierarchy, it all stems from that same primal need for order, for a power that's bigger than ourselves.
Exactly, it's all connected, and that's why, even though Leviathan is, what, over 350 years old now, it still feels surprisingly relevant.
Because deep down, those questions haven't gone away, have they? If we don't have an absolute ruler, then what? How do we balance individual freedom with the need for some kind of order, some kind of security?
Especially in a world that, let's be honest, often feels pretty chaotic.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think that's what makes Hobbes so interesting. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, he's forcing us to really confront those questions.
He's not giving us easy answers. He wouldn't want to.
Right. It's like he's saying, figure it out yourselves. But in the meantime, maybe think twice before you dismantle all the systems, all the rules.
Because that chaos Hobbes is talking about, it's always there, lurking just below the surface.
So next time you see a headline about political unrest or even just getting a heated debate online, remember Thomas Hobbes. Remember the Leviathan.
Because those questions he was wrestling with, they're still our questions. And how we answer them will determine what kind of future we end up creating.
It's true. Well, on that cheery note, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep thinking. And maybe invest in a good therapist, because Hobbes will definitely make you question everything you thought you knew about human nature.